The year was 2157, and Earth had changed a lot. People lived on the moon now. They had bases on Mars. Ships flew between planets carrying goods and people. It wasn't perfect, but humans were proud of what they had built in space. Captain Allen Wright stood on the bridge of the Defiance, Earth's best military ship. It wasn't very big compared to what other species had, but humans didn't know that yet. The Defiance was fast and well armed. It had the best engines humans could make. Captain Wright loved his ship. "Captain, we're picking up something strange," said Lisa Green, who watched the radar screens. "It's big, sir, really big, and it's coming toward Earth." Allen walked over to her station and looked at the screen. The object was moving fast, faster than any human ship could go, and it was huge. "Get Admiral Miller on the line," he said calmly, though his heart was beating faster. "And tell the rest of the fleet to go on alert." Earth's fleet wasn't very big. They had 20 military ships and 40 ships for setting up colonies on other planets. They had never met aliens before. They didn't know if aliens existed. Today, they would find out. Susan Miller was the head of Earth's Space Forces. She got the message while in a meeting with world leaders. "We need to prepare for first contact," she told them. "We don't know if they're friendly, but we should be ready for anything." The alien ship slowed down as it got closer to Earth. It was massive, bigger than anything humans had ever built. It had strange shapes and glowing parts. It sent a message in many Earth languages. "We are the Casari Dominion. We control hundreds of star systems. We wish to meet with Earth's leaders." The world went crazy with the news. Aliens were real. They wanted to talk. Some people were scared, others excited. Everyone had questions. A meeting place was set up in Geneva, Switzerland. The aliens would land there and meet Earth's leaders. Captain Wright and the Defiance would be nearby, just in case. "I don't like this," said Joe Harris, Wright's second in command. "They just show up and expect us to welcome them?" "We need to be careful," Wright agreed. "But this could be good for humanity. Think about what we could learn from them." The alien ship sent down a smaller craft. It was still bigger than Earth's largest ship. It landed smoothly in the big field where the meeting would happen. When the door opened, everyone gasped. The Casari were tall, at least 8 feet. They had blue-gray skin and 4 arms. Their faces had 3 eyes and no nose, just slits for breathing. They walked with grace despite being so big. Their leader was called High Commander Vexillar. He wore something like armor, but it seemed to glow and move slightly, as if alive. "Greetings, humans," Vexillar said through a translator device. "We have come to learn about your world." Admiral Miller stepped forward. She was short compared to the aliens, but she stood straight and proud. "Welcome to Earth. We are honored to meet another intelligent species from the stars." The first meetings went well on the surface. The Casari were polite, but they asked many questions about Earth's resources, population, and military. They seemed most interested in Earth's fleet. "You wish to see our ships?" Admiral Miller asked, thinking it might build trust. "Yes," said Vexillar. "We wish to understand your level of development." Captain Wright was ordered to show the aliens the Defiance and explain Earth's fleet. He didn't like it, but orders were orders. When the Casari saw the Defiance, something changed in their manner. They looked at each other in a way that made Wright uncomfortable. "This is your best military vessel?" Vexillar asked. "Yes," Wright said with pride. "She's the fastest ship we've ever built." One of the other Casari made a sound like laughter. "Our smallest battlecruiser could destroy your entire fleet without damage." Wright felt his face get hot with anger, but he kept his cool. "Perhaps, but we're still learning and growing." Vexillar didn't try to hide his new attitude. "Your species is younger than we thought. Your ships are like toys to us." Admiral Miller stepped in. "We may be young as a spacefaring species, but we learn quickly." The Casari openly laughed now. "Your tiny fleet is barely worth noting in our records," one said. "Perhaps in 1,000 years you'll have something worth showing us." What the aliens didn't know was that Dr. Owen Rodriguez was watching everything from a hidden room. He was Earth's best scientist for studying quantum physics. He had special sensors that could scan the aliens' technology without them knowing. "This is amazing," he whispered to his assistant. "Their tech is advanced, but it's based on principles we've been studying. I think we can understand it." After the Casari left the Defiance, Wright met with Admiral Miller in private. "They think we're nothing," Wright said. "Did you see how they laughed at our ships?" Miller nodded. "They showed their true nature today. They're not here for friendship." "What do we do?" Wright asked. "We prepare," Miller said firmly. "We don't let them know we're worried. And we talked to Dr. Rodriguez. He saw something during their visit." Dr. Rodriguez was excited when they called him. "Admiral, their ships use a type of quantum field for protection. It's advanced, but I noticed something strange about the frequency pattern. I think there might be a weakness we could use." "A weakness?" Wright asked. "In their technology?" "Yes," Rodriguez said. "I need more time to study it, but I think we might be able to disrupt their shields with the right frequency." Miller looked thoughtful. "Keep this quiet. If the Casari are as dangerous as I think they are, we'll need every advantage we can get." As they spoke, the main Casari ship left Earth's orbit. But smaller ships stayed behind, watching. Earth had met its first aliens, and they weren't friendly. The Casari had mocked humanity's tiny fleet. They thought Earth was weak and primitive. They would learn how wrong they were. 3 months passed since the first meeting with the Casari. Earth leaders kept talking with the aliens, but they also got busy. People worked day and night building new weapons and improving their ships. They didn't trust the Casari after they had laughed at Earth's fleet. Captain Alan Wright got a new mission. His ship, the Defiance, would fly to the edge of the solar system and watch the Casari ships that were still there. The aliens said they were just observing, but no one believed them. "Keep your distance," Admiral Susan Miller told him. "Don't let them know you're watching them. Just gather information and come back." Wright nodded. "Yes, ma'am. What about Dr. Rodriguez? Has he made any progress?" Admiral Miller looked tired. She hadn't slept much lately. "He's working nonstop. He thinks he's found something important about their shield technology." The Defiance left Earth the next day. They used the shadow of Neptune to hide from Casari sensors. For 2 weeks, they watched and recorded everything the aliens did. The Casari were mapping the whole solar system. They were looking at all the places humans had built things. Wright didn't like what he was seeing. "They're planning something," he told his crew. "This isn't friendly observation. It's military planning." Just as they were about to head back to Earth, they saw something big. Many new Casari ships appeared at the edge of the solar system. There were hundreds of them, maybe thousands. All warships. "We need to warn Earth," Wright said. "Full speed back home." The Defiance raced back to Earth faster than it had ever gone before. When they arrived, they found that Earth already knew. The Casari had sent a message. They were coming to talk. This time, the Casari didn't land on Earth. They said Earth's air was too uncomfortable for them. The meeting happened on their ship. Admiral Miller went with 5 other world leaders. They took Dr. Owen Rodriguez as an advisor. High Commander Vexler greeted them, but he didn't seem friendly. "Humans," he said, "the Casari Dominion has made a decision about your world." Admiral Miller stayed calm. "We are listening." "Your species is primitive but has potential," Vexler said. "The Dominion offers you protection. You will become a vassal state under our rule. You will give us resources, and we will defend you and guide your development." One of the Earth leaders, President Sam Carter, stepped forward. "And if we wish to remain independent?" Vexler's 3 eyes blinked slowly. "That would be unwise. Look at our fleet. We have thousands of warships. You have 20 small vessels that we could destroy with a single shot each. You're threatening us," Admiral Miller said. "I am stating facts," Vexler replied. "The galaxy is dangerous. Small, weak species like yours need protection. We offer it. The alternative is..." He made a gesture with one of his 4 arms that everyone understood. "How long do we have to consider your offer?" Miller asked. 7 Earth days, Vexillar said. Then we will return for your answer. Choose wisely. On the trip back to Earth, no one spoke for a long time. Finally, Dr. Rodriguez broke the silence. They're going to attack no matter what we say, he said. Admiral Miller nodded. I agree. They've already decided. Then we fight, President Carter said. We won't surrender without a fight. When they returned to Earth, the United Earth Council met in an emergency session. All the world leaders gathered to discuss what to do. Some thought they should accept the Casari offer. Others wanted to fight. General Catherine Jones stood to speak. She was in charge of Earth's ground forces. We must be realistic, she said. Their technology is far beyond ours. Their fleet outnumbers ours by hundreds to one. If we fight, we will lose. Many people will die. We should accept their offer and try to gain our freedom later, when we're stronger. Many leaders nodded in agreement. It seemed like the sensible choice. Then Dr. Rodriguez asked to speak. He wasn't supposed to be at this meeting, but Admiral Miller had brought him. Leaders of Earth, he began. I have been studying the Casari technology since their first visit. What I've found might change how you see our situation. He showed them data from his scans of the Casari ships. Their ships are impressive, yes. Their weapons are powerful, but their defensive shields have a weakness. They use a quantum field that vibrates at a specific frequency. If we could generate a countering frequency, we might be able to disrupt their shields. The room burst into conversation. Admiral Miller called for quiet. How sure are you about this? She asked Rodriguez. Very sure, he said. My team has been working on a similar technology for years before the Casari arrived. We were looking for new ways to protect our ships. We don't have shields like theirs, but we understand the principles. A young officer stepped forward. It was Lieutenant Peter Morgan. He worked in tactical planning. Admiral, may I speak? He asked. Admiral Miller nodded. I've been analyzing the Casari battle formations from the data Captain Wright brought back, Morgan said. They rely heavily on their shields. Their ships are fast and well-armed, but they're not very maneuverable. If their shields failed, they would be vulnerable to smaller, quicker ships like ours. He showed a simulation on the big screen. It showed Earth ships attacking Casari vessels whose shields were down. We would still be outnumbered, Morgan continued. But with Dr. Rodriguez's discovery, we might have a chance. Not a good one, but a chance. The room was quiet as everyone thought about this. How quickly could we build these quantum disruptors? President Carter asked. My team has already built a prototype, Dr. Rodriguez said. With all of Earth's resources behind us, we could make enough for every ship in our fleet within 5 days. Admiral Miller looked at each leader in the room. We need to decide. Do we surrender or do we fight? General Jones spoke up again. This plan is risky, very risky. If it fails, we lose everything. If we surrender, we lose everything anyway, Captain Wright said. He had just arrived from his mission. I've seen their ships up close. I've heard how they talk about us. They don't respect us. They won't treat us well. President Carter stood up. We will put it to a vote. All in favor of accepting the Casari offer, raise your hand. A few hands went up, but not many. All in favor of fighting, using Dr. Rodriguez's discovery and Lieutenant Morgan's plan, raise your hand. Almost every hand in the room went up. Then it's decided, President Carter said. We fight, but we don't let the Casari know. When they return for our answer, we will act like we are going to surrender. Meanwhile, we prepare our real response. Over the next week, every factory on Earth worked non-stop. Dr. Rodriguez's quantum disruptors were built and installed on all 20 military ships. Lieutenant Morgan trained the fleet in his new battle plan. Captain Wright and the Defiance would lead the main attack. He met with Rodriguez one last time before the Casari returned. Will it work? Wright asked. Rodriguez handed him a small device, the control for the quantum disruptors. It will work, but you'll need to get close to their ships. The disruptors have a limited range. Wright nodded. We'll get close. Then we'll show them what our tiny fleet can really do. The 7 days passed quickly. Everyone on Earth knew something big was happening, but few knew the real plan. Most people thought Earth was going to surrender to the Casari. That's what the news said. That's what the Casari were meant to believe. Captain Alan Wright sat in his chair on the bridge of the Defiance. His crew was quiet. They all knew what was at stake. "Status report," Wright said. Joe Harris, his second-in-command, checked his screens. "All systems ready, Captain. Quantum disruptors are online. The other ships are in position." Wright nodded. "Good. Now we wait." The Casari fleet entered the solar system right on schedule. Over 500 of their massive ships moved toward Earth. They were so confident they didn't even try to hide their approach. High Commander Vexillar sent a message to Earth. His face appeared on screens all over the planet. "People of Earth," he said, "the time has come for your answer. Will you accept the protection of the Casari Dominion?" President Sam Carter responded as planned. "High Commander, we have discussed your offer. We recognize the wisdom in your words. Earth is prepared to accept your protection." Vexillar's three eyes blinked in what might have been satisfaction. "A wise decision. There will be no bloodshed today. We will arrive at Earth in 6 hours to begin the formal process." As soon as the transmission ended, Earth's plan sprang into action. All 20 military ships launched from their hidden positions around the planet. But they didn't head straight for the Casari fleet. Instead, they split up and flew to carefully planned positions throughout the solar system. "The Casari are tracking us," Harris reported on the Defiance. "They see our movements, but they're not changing course." "Good," Wright said. "They think we're just coming out to greet them. They have no idea what's about to happen." Each Earth ship carried dozens of small unmanned devices. From a distance, they looked like defensive satellites. The Earth ships dropped these devices at specific points in space, creating a web around the approaching Casari fleet. "They're sending a message," Lisa Green said from her communications station. "They want to know what we're deploying." "Tell them they're navigation beacons to help guide their ships to Earth," Wright ordered. "Keep it friendly." On Earth, Dr. Owen Rodriguez watched everything from mission control. "The quantum disruptors are all in place," he told Admiral Susan Miller. "All 20 ships have deployed their payload." "How long until they're in range?" Miller asked. "The Casari will reach the outer disruption field in about 30 minutes, Rodriguez said. "Once they're inside, Lieutenant Morgan will give the signal to activate." Lieutenant Peter Morgan stood nearby, watching the tactical display. Earth's 20 ships looked like tiny dots compared to the massive Casari fleet. "I still can't believe we're doing this," he said quietly. 20 ships against 500. "It's not about the number of ships," Miller said. "It's about using what we have intelligently." In space, the Defiance and the other Earth ships took up their final positions. They were spread out, each one responsible for a different sector of space. "Casari fleet is entering the disruption field now," Harris reported. "They suspect nothing." Wright took a deep breath. "Get ready," on Morgan's signal. Back on Earth, Morgan watched as the lead Casari ships crossed the invisible line he had drawn on his tactical display. "Now," he said simply. Rodriguez pressed a button, sending the activation signal to all the quantum disruptors at once. In space, nothing seemed to happen at first. The small devices deployed by Earth's ships didn't fire weapons or explode. They simply began to emit waves of energy at a very specific frequency, the exact opposite frequency of the Casari shield systems. On the bridge of the Defiance, Wright waited. 3 seconds passed. 5. 10. "Did it work?" he asked. Before anyone could answer, the sensors lit up. "Captain," Harris called out. "The Casari ships, their shields are fluctuating. The disruption is working." The Casari fleet suddenly slowed down. Their formation began to break as ship captains struggled to understand what was happening to their shields. "All Earth ships, this is Captain Wright," he called over the fleet channel. "Execute attack plan Alpha. I repeat, execute attack plan Alpha." The 20 Earth ships, small but quick, moved in for the attack. Each one had been assigned specific targets. The Defiance headed straight for the Casari flagship, where High Commander Vexillar was. They're trying to raise their shields to full power, Harris reported, but they can't stabilize them. The disruption field is working perfectly. Arm all weapons, Wright ordered. Target their main engines first, then weapon systems. The Defiance fired its missiles at the Casari flagship. Without functioning shields, the massive alien vessel had no defense against the smaller human weapons. The missiles struck with precision, causing explosions along the hull. "Direct hits," Harris called out. "Their engines are damaged. They're losing power." All across the solar system, the same scene played out. Earth's ships, once mocked as tiny and insignificant, were now dealing serious damage to the mighty Casari fleet. High Commander Vexlar's face appeared on the Defiance's screen. He looked shocked and angry. "What is the meaning of this?" he demanded. "You said you would surrender." "We changed our minds," Wright replied calmly. "Your shields are down, Commander. Your ships are vulnerable. I suggest you retreat while you still can." "This is impossible," Vexlar shouted. "Our technology is far superior to yours. How are you doing this?" Wright smiled slightly. "You mocked our tiny fleet, but you never bothered to understand us. Humans are good at finding weaknesses. We're good at solving problems. Your mistake was thinking size was all that mattered." On Earth, Morgan watched the battle with amazement. "It's working," he said to Admiral Miller. "It's actually working. The Casari ships are in complete disarray." Miller nodded, but she stayed focused. "Don't celebrate yet. We've surprised them. But they still outnumber us greatly. If they figure out how to counter our disruption field, we're in trouble." In space, the Casari tried to fight back. Their weapons were still working, and they fired at the Earth ships. But without their shields, they couldn't coordinate properly. Their formation fell apart as each ship tried to protect itself. "They're sending out some kind of signal," Lisa Green reported on the Defiance. "I think they're calling for help." "They won't get any in time," Wright said. "Keep pressing the attack. Don't give them a chance to regroup." The Earth ships continued their assault, focusing on the engines and weapons of the Casari vessels. They didn't try to destroy the alien ships completely. They couldn't. But they made sure the Casari couldn't fight effectively. After an hour of battle, the Casari fleet began to retreat. Their once perfect formation was now a chaotic scramble to escape the solar system. "They're running," Harris said with a grin. "I can't believe it. They're actually running away." Wright didn't smile. "Stay alert. This isn't over yet." On the main Casari ship, High Commander Vexlar was furious. "How?" he demanded of his scientists. "How did they disable our shields?" The chief scientist looked afraid. "They found the resonance frequency, Commander. They created a disruption field that exactly counters our shield harmonics." "That's impossible," Vexlar shouted. "They are primitives. They have only just reached space." "Apparently," the scientist said quietly. "We underestimated them." Vexlar struck the scientist with one of his forearms, knocking him down. "Order all ships to retreat beyond the disruption field. We need to regroup and analyze this human weapon." Back on Earth, cheers erupted in mission control as they watched the Casari fleet retreat. "We did it," Rodriguez said, hardly believing it himself. "We actually drove them off." Admiral Miller nodded, but like Wright, she didn't celebrate. "They'll be back, with better shields and more ships. This was just the first battle in what will be a long war." As the last Casari ship left the solar system, Captain Wright finally allowed himself to relax a little. "Send a message to Earth," he told Lisa Green. "Tell them the Casari fleet has retreated. Our plan worked." "They never saw it coming, did they?" Harris asked. "They were so sure their big fleet made them unstoppable." Wright shook his head. "Size isn't everything. They thought our fleet was tiny and weak. They never considered that it might be exactly what we needed." As the Defiance turned back toward Earth, Wright looked out at the stars. Humanity had won its first battle against an alien threat. They had proven that ingenuity could overcome overwhelming odds. But he knew the Casari would return, and when they did, they would be ready for Earth's trick. "We bought ourselves some time," he said to his crew. "Now we need to use it wisely." Earth celebrated its victory, but the celebration didn't last long. Admiral Susan Miller called a meeting of Earth's leaders just one day after the battle. The Casari will be back, she told them. They're not used to losing. They'll bring more ships and better technology next time. President Sam Carter nodded. How long do we have? Dr. Owen Rodriguez spoke up. Based on what we know about their faster-than-light travel, I'd say 6 months at most. They'll need time to modify their shields and gather a larger fleet. Then, we have 6 months to prepare, Carter said. What do we need to do? Build more ships, said Captain Alan Wright. He had just returned from space. Our 20 ships won't be enough next time. Improve our quantum disruptors, added Rodriguez. The Casari will try to counter them. We need to make them stronger and more flexible. And train more crews, said Lieutenant Peter Morgan. We need better tactics too. We caught them by surprise this time. That won't happen again. President Carter looked around the room. Then that's what we'll do. From today, Earth is on a war footing. Every factory, every lab, every resource we have goes into preparation for the next battle. And so Earth changed. Schools trained new pilots and engineers. Factories that once made cars now made ship parts. Labs around the world worked to improve Rodriguez's quantum technology. Captain Wright became an instructor at the new Space Combat Academy. He taught new captains how to fight the Casari. They're bigger and stronger, he told his students. But we're faster and smarter. Remember that. Use it. Lieutenant Morgan was promoted to commander. He worked with scientists and military leaders to develop new battle plans. His ideas were unusual but clever. We need to think differently, he said during one meeting. The Casari fight like a hammer, direct and powerful. We need to fight like water, flexible and always finding a way through. Dr. Rodriguez hardly left his lab for months. His team worked day and night to improve the quantum disruptors. The Casari will try to adjust their shield frequencies, he explained to Admiral Miller during one of her visits. So we've made our disruptors able to change frequencies too. It's like a race to see who can adapt faster. And who will win that race? Miller asked. Rodriguez smiled tiredly. We will. Humans are better at adapting quickly. It's how we've survived so long. As the months passed, Earth's fleet grew. They built 30 new military ships. They weren't as big as Casari ships, but they were fast and well-armed. Each one carried improved quantum disruptors. It's still not enough, Wright said during a meeting with Admiral Miller. If the Casari come back with twice as many ships as before, we'll still be outnumbered 20-1. That's why we're not fighting fair, Miller replied. Commander Morgan has a new strategy. We're calling it the Ripple. She showed Wright the plans. It was bold and dangerous, but it might work. Instead of waiting for them to reach Earth, she explained, we'll meet them at the edge of the solar system. We'll deploy a new type of quantum disruptor that affects a much larger area. Wright studied the plans. This is risky. Our ships will be exposed. Yes, Miller agreed. But if it works, we won't need to match them ship for ship. 6 months after the first battle, Earth's sensors detected what everyone had been expecting. A new Casari fleet entering the outer solar system. They're back, Miller told the United Earth Council. And they've brought twice as many ships as before. Over 1,000 Casari warships are heading our way. Are we ready? President Carter asked. Miller nodded. As ready as we'll ever be. Earth's 50 ships launched from their bases. Led by Captain Wright in the Defiance, they headed not for Earth orbit, but for the outer edge of the solar system. All ships maintain formation, Wright ordered. Remember your training. Follow the plan. The new Earth fleet was impressive. The ships were still smaller than Casari vessels, but they were sleek and fast. They had been built for one purpose, to defeat the Casari. As they approached the outer planets, they could see the Casari fleet on their sensors. It was massive, a wall of ships stretching across space. They've changed their formation, reported Joe Harris on the Defiance. They're more spread out this time. They're trying to avoid being caught in our disruption field all at once. They learned from last time, Wright said. But so did we. He contacted Commander Morgan, who was on another ship called the Defender. They're, using the formation you predicted, Wright said. Are you ready? Morgan nodded on the screen. Ready, Captain. The new disruptors are charged and prepared for deployment. The Earth fleet spread out, matching the wider Casari formation. Each ship carried several of the new quantum disruptors. These weren't small devices like the ones they had used before. They were larger and more powerful. All ships, prepare to deploy disruptors on my mark, Wright ordered. Remember, timing is everything. The two fleets drew closer. The Casari ships fired warning shots, trying to force the Earth vessels to retreat. But the human ships kept coming. They think we're crazy, Harris said with a grim smile. Maybe we are. We're not crazy, Wright replied. We just understand something they don't. Sometimes being small gives you an advantage. When the fleets were just at the edge of weapons range, Wright gave the order. Deploy disruptors now. Each Earth ship launched its quantum disruptors. The devices positioned themselves in a carefully planned pattern between the two fleets. On the Casari command, Ship High Commander Vexler watched with caution. They're deploying their disruption devices again, he told his officers. But we're ready this time. Our shields have been modified to resist their frequency. His chief scientist nodded. Yes, Commander. Our shields now automatically adjust to counter any disruption frequency they used last time. Vexillar smiled, a strange expression on his alien face. Good. This time, we will crush these humans and their tiny fleet. But on Earth, in the main control center, Dr. Rodriguez was smiling, too. They modified their shields exactly as I predicted, he said to Admiral Miller. They think they're ready for us. Are they? Miller asked. Not even close, Rodriguez replied. He activated his communication link to the fleet. Captain Wright, they've taken the bait. You may begin Phase 2. In space, Wright received the message. Understood. All ships, activate disruptors. Begin the ripple. The new quantum disruptors powered up, but instead of emitting a single frequency like before, they began cycling through thousands of frequencies per second. The effect spread through space like a ripple in water. On the Casari ships, alarms began to sound. Shield systems that had been programmed to counter one frequency now tried to adjust to the rapidly changing disruption. They couldn't keep up. What's happening? Vexlar demanded. Why aren't our shields adapting? His scientist looked panicked. Their disruption field is changing too quickly. Our systems can't adjust fast enough. Throughout the Casari fleet, shields began to fail as the rippling disruption overwhelmed their systems. Ship after ship became vulnerable. Now! Wright ordered the Earth fleet. Attack pattern Delta. Target their engines and weapons. The 50 Earth ships darted forward, moving through the gaps in the Casari formation. They fired with precision, hitting the now unshielded weak points of the larger vessels. The disruption is working across the entire fleet, Harris reported with amazement. All Casari ships are showing shield failures. Commander Morgan's voice came over the comm. It's working better than we hoped. Their ships are so focused on trying to fix their shields that they can't coordinate their attacks. The battle became chaotic. The Casari still had working weapons, and they fired desperately at the smaller, faster Earth ships. Some found their marks. 3 Earth vessels were destroyed, their crews lost. But the Casari were losing more. Without their shields, their massive ships were vulnerable. The Earth fleet executed Morgan's tactics perfectly, hitting critical systems and then darting away before the Casari could respond. After 2 hours of battle, the Casari began to retreat once again. Their once mighty fleet was in shambles. Dozens of their ships had been disabled or destroyed. The rest fled at maximum speed, trying to escape the devastating ripple effect. On the Defiance, the crew cheered as they watched the Casari run. We did it again? Harris said, clapping Wright on the shoulder. We beat them. Wright nodded, but he was thinking about the cost. 3 ships lost. Over 200 good people who wouldn't be coming home. It was a victory, but a hard one. All ships. Report status, he ordered. And begin search and rescue operations for any escape pods from our lost vessels. Back on Earth, Admiral Miller stood with Dr. Rodriguez, watching the battle data come in. The ripple worked even better than we predicted, Rodriguez said. Their shield technology simply couldn't adapt fast enough. Will it work a third time? Miller asked. Rodriguez considered this. Maybe, but they'll try something new next. 2 years had passed since the first Casari attack on Earth. Everything had changed. Humanity had gone from a species just beginning to explore its own solar system to one capable of traveling between stars. Earth's fleet of 100 vessels, now pushed deep into Casari territory. Admiral Alan Wright stood on the bridge of the Defiance looking at the tactical display. The map showed dozens of star systems. Many had Casari symbols on them, but several now displayed Earth's flag instead. "Report from the Valor," said Commander Joe Harris. "They've secured the Proxima system, no casualties." Wright nodded. "Good. That's the 5th system this month." When Earth's fleet had first entered Casari space, many had thought it was suicide. 100 ships against an empire that controlled hundreds of star systems seemed like impossible odds. But the humans had an advantage the Casari didn't understand. They were fighting for their survival. The Casari had never faced a serious threat before. They had conquered many species, but always with overwhelming force. They didn't know how to fight an enemy that could neutralize their advantages. "Message from Earth, Admiral," said Lisa Green, now the Defiance's communications officer. "Admiral Miller wants an update." Wright moved to his private office to take the call. Susan Miller's face appeared on his screen. "Alan," she said with a smile. "How goes the war?" "Better than we expected," Wright replied. "The quantum disruptors work even better in their territory than in ours. We've taken 5 major systems in the last month alone." Miller nodded. "And casualties?" "Minimal," Wright said. "We've lost 8 ships in 2 years. The Casari have lost hundreds." "What about their response? Any sign they're adapting?" Wright frowned. "That's the strange part. They're not adapting well. It's like they don't know how to change their tactics. They keep trying the same approaches even though they don't work." "Dr. Rodriguez has a theory about that," Miller said. "He thinks the Casari haven't faced real competition in so long that they've forgotten how to innovate." "That fits with what we're seeing," Wright agreed. "But it won't last forever. Sooner or later, they'll figure out how to counter our technology." "Then we need to end this war before that happens," Miller said. "The Council has approved your plan to strike at the Casari homeworld." Wright took a deep breath. This was what he had been waiting for. "Good. We'll begin preparations immediately." The plan to attack the Casari homeworld was bold. It would require all of Earth's ships to push deep into enemy territory. The risk was high, but the potential reward was greater, a chance to force the Casari to negotiate for peace. After the call ended, Wright gathered his senior officers to brief them on the mission. "The Casari homeworld is here," he said, pointing to a spot on the star map. "It's heavily defended with at least 1,000 ships protecting it." 1,000 against our 100? Asked one officer. "Those are worse odds than we've faced before." "Yes," Wright admitted. "But we have something new." He nodded to Commander Peter Morgan, who had joined the Defiance for this mission. Morgan stepped forward. "For the past year, Dr. Rodriguez and I have been working on a new type of quantum disruptor," Morgan explained. "We call it the quantum blanket. Instead of affecting a limited area, it can disrupt Casari technology across an entire planet." "How is that possible?" Harris asked. "It uses the planet's own magnetic field as an amplifier," Morgan said. "One device, properly placed in orbit, can create a disruption effect that covers the whole world." The officers looked impressed, but concerned. "What's the catch?" Harris asked. "There's always a catch." Morgan nodded. "The device needs to be precisely positioned. We'll need to fight our way through their defenses and place it in a specific orbit." "And who's going to do that?" another officer asked. "I will," Wright said simply. "The Defiance will carry the device. The rest of the fleet will create a diversion to draw away as many Casari ships as possible." The plan was set. Earth's fleet jumped to a position just outside the Casari home system. From there, they could see the Casari homeworld and its defensive fleet. "They've detected us," Harris reported. "Casari fleet is moving to intercept." "Begin Phase 1, Wright ordered. "Squadrons 2 through 5 commence attack on the outer defenses. Make them think. That's our main target. The ships moved as planned. Most of Earth's fleet engaged the outer defense platforms, drawing Casari ships away from the planet. Meanwhile, the Defiance and 20 other ships took a roundabout route toward the homeworld. They've taken the bait, Morgan reported, watching the tactical display. Over half their fleet is moving to counter our main attack. Good, Wright said. All ships, engage quantum drives for the final approach. The small group of Earth ships jumped into position near the Casari homeworld. Immediately, the remaining Casari ships moved to attack them. Deploy standard disruptors, Wright ordered. Keep their shields down but focus on evasion. We need to reach the deployment point. The Defiance and its escorts fought their way through the Casari defenses. 3 Earth ships were destroyed, but the rest kept going. The Defiance pushed ahead, taking heavy fire. Hull damage on decks 3 through 7, Harris reported. Shields are failing. Stay on course, Wright said firmly. How far to the deployment point? 2 minutes, Morgan replied, working at his console. The quantum blanket is ready. The ship shuddered as another hit struck home. Systems failed across the bridge. Emergency lights came on. Engine 3 is offline, Harris called out. We're losing speed. Reroute power from life support if you have to, Wright ordered. We need to reach that position. The Defiance limped forward, taking more damage with each passing second, but it kept moving toward its target. Deployment point reached, Morgan announced. Launching quantum blanket now. The device left the ship, positioning itself in the precise orbit Morgan had calculated. It activated immediately, sending waves of disruption energy into the planet's magnetic field. The effect was instant and dramatic. Across the entire Casari homeworld, technology began to fail. Their orbital defenses shut down. Their ships lost power. Everything that depended on their quantum field stopped working. It's working, Harris said in amazement. The whole planet, their technology is just shutting down. On the Casari homeworld, panic spread. For a species that had relied on their advanced technology for thousands of years, its sudden loss was devastating. In the royal palace, the Casari leadership gathered in emergency session. High Commander Vexillar had been removed from power after his failures against Earth. In his place stood strategist Kelmar, who had argued for a different approach to the humans from the beginning. The humans have disabled our planet's defenses, an advisor reported. Our fleet is in disarray. We are vulnerable. Kelmar looked at the reports with his 3 eyes. Unlike Vexillar, he had studied the humans carefully. He had come to respect their abilities. Send a message to the human fleet, he ordered. Tell them we wish to discuss terms. In space, the Defiance received the message. They want to talk, Green said, surprised. They're asking for a ceasefire. Wright looked at his damaged ship and his exhausted crew. They had been fighting for 2 years, pushing themselves beyond what anyone thought possible. They had won battle after battle, and now, finally, they had forced the mighty Casari Dominion to the negotiating table. Accept their request, he said. Tell Earth we've done it. 2 weeks later, Admiral Miller arrived at the Casari homeworld. A neutral meeting place had been set up on a small moon. There, Miller sat across from Kelmar, ready to negotiate peace. Your species has accomplished what no other has done in 1,000 years, Kelmar said. You have defeated our fleets. You have penetrated our defenses. You have humbled the Casari Dominion. Miller nodded. We didn't want war. You forced it on us when you threatened our world. A mistake, Kelmar admitted. We judged you by the size of your fleet. We thought you weak because you had few ships. We did not understand that this made you more dangerous, not less. Dr. Rodriguez was present as a technical advisor. He explained, small species like ours learn to do more with less. We can't afford to build thousands of ships, so we make each one count. We can't overwhelm with numbers, so we innovate instead. Commander Morgan presented data showing how Earth's tactics had evolved throughout the war. Your mistake was thinking warfare is about who has the most ships or the biggest guns. It's really about who can adapt faster, who can think differently. Kelmar studied the humans with new respect. What terms do you seek for peace? Recognition of Earth's independence, Miller said, a non-aggression pact, and the right to establish colonies in unclaimed star systems without Casari interference. And in return? Kelmar asked. We share our quantum disruption technology. With you, Miller said, surprising everyone in the room. Not as a weapon, but as a tool. Our scientists have found it has many peaceful applications. The peace talks lasted for days, but in the end, an agreement was reached. The Casari Dominion, which had controlled hundreds of star systems for 1,000 years, formally recognized Earth as an equal power. When Admiral Wright heard the news, he was sitting in the medical bay of the Defiance. The ship was being repaired, as was he. The final battle had left him with injuries that would take time to heal.